All right, before we start, look at your neighbor. Tell your neighbor it's time to clean it up.
It's time to clean it up.
Yes. So, welcome to Combating Chemicals. This, just so you guys know, we're going to do our very best to be out of here by 8. But, I'm just kidding. But this is, me and Dr. Olivia tried to cut so much out of this, and there's so much. And I got to tell you guys, we've done this now every year for the last 5 years, and I've never done the same talk twice because our lovely culture continues to flood us with so many different chemicals that are just toxifying our world. So I'm going to do my best to get through this as quickly as I can. What we're going to do a little bit different tonight to respect everybody's time. If there's a question that you have, text it to the office, okay? And then when we get done, anybody who wants to stay and do Q&A, we will stay, but I won't make everybody stay late. Does that make sense? Yes. So if you have a question all the way through, text it to the team. And then at the end, they'll let us know, and then we'll do a Q&A at the very end. Cool?
Cool.
Okay. Speaking of the team, the Dream Team. Yes. Give it up for the Dream Team. Look, in all honesty, this stuff doesn't happen without these people right here. So, like, they are the rock of this office. I just get to smile and walk around. So, big shout out to them. Now, as we jump in, this is where it's going to get good. So, here's where we kick this off. Mission of what we're doing tonight. When we look at the causes of interference, what this means is that our bodies were innately designed by God to function, heal, be perfect. And when we don't have interference, the body can do that. Now, we talk about these 3 types of interferences or 3 types of stressors are the kinds of stressors that interfere with that natural healing flow of the body, okay? Now, this is what's so wild. Toxins happens to be one of these things, okay? This is why we talk about toxins. So physical stress or trauma, we'll say emotional stress or thoughts, and then chemical stress, aka toxins. And the reason why we do this seminar is because with chemicals and toxins, this is the one that I feel like when I poll patients and I ask around, this is the one that's the most confusing because no one wants to memorize all these weird names and stuff, right? So it's the most confusing. So because it's confusing, it becomes overwhelming. And because we get overwhelmed, we say, I'll forget it. I'm not going to worry about it. And then that's how we get flooded with them because now we're not aware of what to do. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So here's my goal tonight. We're going to try to simplify this as best we can. And we're going to literally, the theme of tonight you're going to see is problem solution. Problem solution. Here's where we're getting flooded with garbage. What are the solutions to this? So what you guys scanned at the beginning, that is a huge resource of all of the healthy alternatives and the healthy swaps that you guys can get access to. If there's anything that we didn't make it on the list and you want to know, again, Q&A is what that's for. Cool? Cool. All right, let's do this. So, soak that in for a second. 700,000 chemicals. We had this up in the office. If you guys were in, you saw this. And this number is if you're mindful and being aware of the exposure. So if you're buying healthy products, that's the number. If you are oblivious to healthy options and you're just buying whatever is cheap at Walmart, it's 2.1 million chemicals that you are being exposed to every single day. And I'm going to say this, when I say this seminar, I'm going to specifically say for you and your family. And I say that specifically because this is huge for all of us of all ages, okay? And it starts from the moment we're born all the way up. And this is why we have to be aware of where the chemicals are coming in, and it's flooded. And here's the wild. Think about when we're starting our day. Just when you wake up in the morning to the moment you leave the home, I'm going to give you an average flow to show you. This is what ends up happening. So in the morning, you wake up, and all night you slept on a mattress. Was that mattress full of flame retardant chemicals that you were breathing in all night? Then you wake up and you go put toothpaste in that was probably full of fluoride. Then you go wash your face with tap water that has a bunch of chemicals in it that I'm going to hit on in a second. Then you go, if you take a shower, you shower, then what shampoo are you using? What soap are you using? What face wash are you using? What shaving cream are you using? All these chemicals are starting to add up. Then you look in, then you get out of the shower. Well, what kind of dry shampoo are you using? What kind of hair gel are you using? What kind of shaving cream or aftershave are you using? Do you guys see how fast this comes? Then we go into, okay, well now I'm going to go and put on some deodorant. Then I'm going to go make breakfast. So now I have a coffee maker. I'm gonna roast some coffee, we're gonna hit that too. Coffee is the big one, and it's not the coffee, it is the coffee, but it's how you make the coffee. It's gonna surprise you. Then you look at, while you're cooking, well, what did you make your breakfast in? What kind of pots and pans did you use? What kind of utensils did you use? What does that look like? Then what kind of plates did you put them on? That sounds wild, but you'd be surprised how many people have plastic plates because they're easy. Again, yeah, you all made gross faces, I agree. Then you look at, all the while, do you live in a house with a bunch of Glade plugins that's filling the air? Do you have a bunch of candles with petroleum burning in your home, toxifying things up? Then you go in and say, fine, I'm ready to leave the house, but I don't want to smell bad, so what am I going to spray on my body? What kinds of chemicals are in the spray? Do you see how fast this adds up? And you haven't even left the house yet. This is how quickly this happens, okay? So when you start to look at this, you have to be mindful about what we're putting on our bodies, what's surrounding our home. I always say what goes on or in your body, very, very important, okay? Which leads me to this theory of the bucket theory. Now, this is, you're gonna wanna think about, follow me when I teach this. So there's this thing called the bucket theory. And what this means is every one of us was given a certain bucket, size of bucket, to handle X amount of toxins, okay? This bucket, how full your bucket is or how big your bucket is directly connected to your mom. Women, you were the source of this bucket. And here's why, is that in utero, when you're pregnant, you are passing toxins back and forth to your baby via placenta. They've done studies, the EWG ran studies, and they looked at the blood from the umbilical cord. So what is actually going into your baby? Your baby hasn't even made it into the world yet. And here's what they found. An average of 287 toxic chemicals were found in the umbilical cord of babies. An average. So that means before the baby's even here, they're already exposed and toxic, okay? Now, 101 of those toxins were found to be nervous system disruptors, 101 of those. 208 of those of those toxic compounds were developmental delays. They will developmentally delay the kid. And again, they haven't even been born yet. So this is why we say, like, you want to do everything you can to help the generations coming. Does that make sense? So important that everything we do, yes, it's for you, but it's also so your kids have a less toxic bucket, and then their kids have a less toxic bucket because now you've passed on these traits and they're going to make better decisions. So now the bucket gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and they can handle more. You guys with me on that? You wonder why how many kids come out of the womb and all of a sudden they're like blowing up with allergies and asthma and all these things. Their bucket was already pre-exposed to be so full. And then I have other thoughts on what happens after they're born, which we'll get to. So here's what you have to understand. When you look at our bucket, one thing you'll hear me say a lot, I'm going to repeat this a lot throughout tonight, is you cannot detox your way out of a bad lifestyle. Write that one down. You cannot detox your way out of a bad lifestyle, because it doesn't matter how many toxic protocols I give you or how many good supplements I give you. Like, it doesn't matter if we're continuing to retox our bodies with all of these chemicals. You guys with me on that? Okay, so next one. So you start looking at some of these chemicals and we ask ourselves, what are some of these chemicals that actually are known to cause affect brain development in babies? So lead is a big one. And where do you find lead? Lead is in paint, but lead is also found in makeup, which Dr. Olivia is going to get on later for you ladies. A lot of lead in makeup. Then we get into mercury. Mercury is, and obviously you're buying toxic fish, vaccinations. These are all high in mercury, very toxic to the brain. Then we go into some of these other ones, which some of these are like the exhaust coming off gasoline for cars. This couch over here, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word, but that's the flame retardants that we're looking at when it comes to couches and beds. And the big one that we're going to hit on tonight in a big way is, I don't know what it's called, phthalates. I don't know how you say it, but phthalates. When you guys are shopping, how many of you guys you see it on the bottle that says phthalate free? This is why they have to promote this, because phthalates are a known disruptor to your child's brain. It is a neurotoxin, okay? Anything that classifies as a neurotoxin has the ability to pass the blood-brain barrier and start to eat away at nerve cells in the brain. Phthalates are a big one. Now, and here's what studies show. So they came out and they said chemicals in plastics damage babies' brains. What are they talking about? Talking about phthalates. So when they did this study, what they were finding, and they looked at phthalates, how they did, and they found that these toxic chemicals literally affect normal brain development. And if you come up, this kind of dives into where you find phthalates, but again, Dr. Olivia is going to hit on that for you guys a little bit later. But when you're looking at it, a lot of personal care products, a lot of like medical supplies, even vinyl flooring can have them. So there are things that you're like, shoot, should I be thinking about this stuff? So when you're looking at packaging of materials, phthalates are designed, they put them in thin plastics to make them very malleable, okay? So they're in there. They're also, I'm gonna steal your thunder, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop talking. But there's so much, but here's the big thing. When you're consuming these phthalates, not only are they toxic to us, but they're also toxic to our babies and our children and their brain development, okay? So we gotta make sure we're being aware of this. And again, I'm not gonna steal your thunder, so I'm gonna stop. There's more. There's so much more I have to say. I know, I'm gonna say. Because we're gonna come back to that. So tonight, as we dive in, here are the areas that we're gonna be walking through. So cookware, cosmetics, your storage containers, your food, water and air, personal care products, cleaning products. We're gonna hit on EMF exposure, what that does to your body tonight, be aware of that. And then we're gonna go a little fun here. We're gonna hit on toxic relationships. I know, everyone like, ooh, what's that gonna be? Save it for last. Okay, first one I'm gonna talk about, big pharma toxicity. I have to hit this one first. If you guys know me, you've heard me speak before, this has to come up first. Here's why. In my opinion, the number one greatest toxicity we're under is the medical community right now. And if you look at the amount of drugs that we take as a culture, this is one of the number one chemical overloads that we're under. And I'm gonna read you a couple stats here because I need you to see this. That last year alone, 7 million kids were prescribed an ADHD medication. 7 million kids were given an anxiety and depression medication. 1 in 4 kids are given an antibiotic. And by the way, 70% of children are given antibiotics before the age of 3, okay? Of that 1 in 4 kids, 70,000 kids every year end up in the ER due to an adverse reaction to an antibiotic. 78 doses of vaccines are now given between the ages of 0 and 18. Just to give you some perspective on that, by the way, when I was a kid, it was like 12. The numbers now have gone from 12 to 78 doses between 0 to 18. There's that. The average American today in our culture takes 13 prescription medications. Let's see. Oh, this is good. Every day, 47 million Americans take a statin drug for cholesterol. A cholesterol drug. 47 million people every day take a drug for their cholesterol. 90% of the opioid, like Oxycontin, you guys have probably seen lots of documentaries on Oxycontin, 90% of the Oxycontin is taken in our country right here. And the last one is this, 5% of the world's population is the US. We make up 5% of the world's population. We consume 80 to 85% of the world's pharmaceutical drugs. Wow. This is why I say we have to hit this first, is that we are so overly medicated. And you think about, how does life begin? Unfortunately, most times life begins when you're born. Right away, we want to be shoving antibiotic cream in baby's eyes. We want to be given hepatitis vaccines. We want to be putting vitamin K shots. And like, they haven't even came around yet. And we're already putting things into their bodies right away. So we have to understand that this is why I said it starts at birth. It's right away. So the toxic overload coming in is right away. So when we start looking at some of this, gotta be aware. And I think when we start thinking about this, how do we find the solution? Well, here's what I'm gonna say. Oh, by the way, I pulled this out. Who saw this, by the way? This came out. And they said, remember when we shut the world down a couple years ago because of COVID? And remember, I don't know if anybody saw this. I was screaming this because I was so frustrated. But what they were saying was COVID was happening, so we had to all close the world down. And then if anybody saw this, no one got contracted with the flu for like 2 years. The flu like disappeared for 2 years, right? Well, guess what? Now that this is normalized again, they're saying that we can treat COVID just like the flu. We're like we were saying all along. So you have to be awake to what's happening. We have to see how much this is getting shoved into us, and we have to be aware between us. Again, this is why I say us and our kids, because this is just, it's overload, big time. So here's where, this is one of my favorite quotes, by the way. This is from the person who, I would say, developed chiropractic. So the guy who created it, his son, pretty cool. But here's the idea. You mean that the body, when you were born, the body has this innate healing potential from day one. So like if I cut my hand, I have full faith that that cut heals. Do all of you? Mm-hmm. That same cut is the same cut that heals you from viruses, from bacteria, from all sorts of things. Why do we lose faith in our body? We've gotten so ingrained to lose faith in our body. So we don't trust the God wisdom in us. We think we need outside help. We need the medications. We need the Tylenol, the antibiotics, all the stuff, because we've lost faith in what's inside you. You mean to tell me that that miracle that creates a human life is not smart enough to fix the flu? Are you kidding me, guys? Come on, right? Like this is where it's like, and I'll tell you, how do we fix this? We fix it by teaching our children this philosophy so that they understand. This past Saturday, my son woke up out of nowhere. He's like, he looked pale, and he's like, Daddy, I don't feel good. And he puked. And in that moment, I have an opportunity to teach my son something. I can say, oh my gosh, let's get you medicine. You're sick. Let's give you some drugs to fix the vomiting. Or I can say, hey, buddy, God didn't make a mistake when he made you, and your body is so smart that somehow some bad bugs got in there. And guess what your body's doing right now? It's getting them out. Your body is so smart that it's excreting those bad bugs out. So every time you throw up this morning, buddy, we're going to celebrate because your body is getting those bad bugs out. And it sounds weird. That little boy was puking like, yay! Daddy, bad bugs! And he's getting them out. He puked 4 times between morning to noon. At noon, that kid was running in the backyard like it never happened. And because we taught him in that moment that you support the healing process of your body, that your body does things for a reason, that you think about in your bathroom, we have a cabinet, and what do we call the cabinet? This is the problem. This is what we talk about. So now your kids, you say, hey, go get me something out of the medicine cabinet, and you're teaching the children that as a family, we're so sick, a whole cabinet is designated for drugs. And you see the mindset, right? So this is where the paradigm shift has to happen, and you have to start referring, like in our house, that's our health cabinet. Start to change the dialogue with the children and in the home so that they understand that, no, we are a vibrant, abundantly healthy family, and we make decisions that support and nourish our body. We're not fearful and have to take things from the outside. We need less of the outside. Healing is an inside-out thing, not an outside-in thing. Amen? Amen. Here we go. I told you, I'm on one tonight. Okay, food. We're moving to food now. There are more than 10,000 chemicals allowed to be put inside your food and the processing of our food. Thank you, America. So this is where we start to look at how all these chemicals are coming in. Of these chemicals, there's things like preservatives, herbicides, pesticides, antibiotics. I mean, all of these things are designed to try to keep the food fresher longer, but all it does is make us sicker longer. And there's a problem. We have to be very mindful of all these things. If you look at anybody who owns a farm, my family in Montana own a farm, and they raise their own animals. They have all their own vegetables. They say, how many times you spray your stuff with herbicides? She's like, what is that? I'm like, exactly. How often you give your cows antibiotics? She's like, why would I do that? I'm like, exactly. And this is what we start to think about. And when we go into this, a lot of the chemicals that, again, we're going to hit on a little bit, are in the packaging of the food. So if your diet consists of mostly packaged, processed food, the food that is sitting inside that packaging is lined with a lot of these chemicals, the phthalates, and there's something called PFAS chemicals, which, again, she's going to hit on more. PFAS chemicals are considered what they call a forever chemical. It's a forever chemical because it is nearly impossible to break down in the body. Thank you, synthetic scientists. And it stays in your body for a very long time. So we're going to talk about where do you find PFAS chemicals, because if I could tell you one thing tonight, you want to find out where are these and how do we make the proper switches to avoid those coming in the body, okay? Oh, the other thing that was interesting, do you ever notice how like the food today is so much more addictive than it was when we were kids? I'm gonna share something with you guys. The like Fruit Loops that we had when we were children are not the Fruit Loops that your kids are having today. The food that we had when we were kids are not the food that our kids are eating today. An example is, I've been using the McDonald's example because it's right there. But when I was a kid growing up, the McDonald's French fry was 3 ingredients. It was actually potato, salt, and it's cooked in tallow, okay? That's how you should make a French fry. Like Ray McDonald did it right in the beginning. Then it got bought out and converted, and now, if you were to go right now across over here and buy yourself a McDonald's French fry, 19 ingredients in the one French fry. 19, because they've had to chemically find a way to alter the texture and the flavor. There's 4 different seed oils inside that. I almost said a bad word, sorry. 4 seed oils inside the French fry. It's so wound up. But they use all these things because they're trying to find ways to chemically change it. And there's literally a profession called food scientists. And the food scientist's job is to say, how can I make the food more addictive and more, how do I get you to crave it more? That's what's happening in our kids' foods today. And this is why you see kids so addicted to these foods, is because we're in this place where there's so many fake things in there that's why they're like, you ever try to like pull them off of the sugary cereals and the Pop-Tarts and things, and they act like little drug addicts and they freak out. This is why. It's a real thing. Their brains are being all messed up in there. So top 5 most toxic foods are going to be fried foods, packaged foods, GMO foods, things that have artificial colors and artificial sweeteners. Okay, top 5 most toxic things. I'll leave that up as I go through this. So the fried foods, the reason why this is so bad is because the things that it's fried in is typically fried in seed oils or refined oils, and those are commonly linked to heart disease, diabetes, cancer. Those are the things that are clogging your arteries, not the grass-fed butter that we were taught, right? Eggs don't clog your arteries. Fried fake oils is what clogs your arteries. Go down to the GMO. So I think we all know GMO is not good, right? GMO food, actually, there's studies that show that it actually links to nerve damage. So what I mean by that is, have you heard of like neuropathy, where you have numbness and tingling, you damage the nerve? Consumption of too much GMO food will cause neuropathy and nerve damage in your body. So let's not eat those. Then we go into, I'm going to skip down and go to artificial colors. If you have anything for you and your children that has a color in it, get it out of the house right off the bat. I'm just going to tell you that. If you see yellow 5, red 40, right, all the colors, get it out right away. Here's what they did. UC Berkeley and UC Davis did a study on the colors. Here's what they found. That consumption of synthetic food dyes lead to hyperactivity, aka ADHD, neurological issues. Yellow 5 and yellow 6 are linked to kidney and intestinal tumors. Red 3 and red 40 are linked to thyroid tumors. And what's interesting is these colors, if you go to any other country, these are banned in other countries. These are literally not allowed in other countries because of the damage it does to our bodies. And this is why when you see like it drives me nuts when you go to like sports games and you see we're like pumping Gatorade in these kids and we're pumping all these things, right? These sports drinks, and they're loaded with artificial sweeteners and artificial colors. It's probably GMO, I don't know. Now, artificial sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose, those are the big ones. Those are also called neurotoxins. Those are things that can pass the blood-brain barrier. They're also called excitatory toxins. The reason why they call it an excitatory toxin is because when it gets to the brain, it excites the neurons, makes it like fire over and over and over again, and then you can't sit still. What do we call that? ADHD. So now, again, it's another form, these artificial sweeteners, you put this in a child and you wonder why they're bouncing all over the walls. And it's because we put all this synthetic food in them. And what was wild is they did this, they also did this comparison. They said, man, give your kids, cereal and Pop-Tarts and stuff for breakfast one day, send them to school. The next day, give them like eggs and bacon or something, send them to school, and you will see two different children. The food we give us and our kids make a big difference. And I get it. I grew up on Pop-Tarts and Reese's Pebbles and all that stuff. So I get it. So how do you fix it? Stop eating it. There you go. Here's your solution. Stop consuming all those things and you'll be just fine. The next part we're going to talk about, so toxic bioaccumulation. This one is a two-part thing I'm going to hit on. So bioaccumulation is the accumulation over time that we're getting, right? Here's how this works. So number one, I have to have some level of grace for myself when I'm going in to a cleansing protocol because very transparently, I was raised this standard American way. So from birth until like 20 years old, I ate and lived all of this way, this very toxic way. My family didn't know any better. So that's how I lived. I've been doing it very good for like 10 years. Do you see how there's still a scale tipper going on here? The majority of my life has been mostly toxic. So I have to understand that like I've just put so many more toxins in my bucket than I have had a chance to take out, that there's an overaccumulation of toxins. So I think here's where the grace comes in is sometimes we say, Dr. Mike, I've been doing everything you said for 6 months. Why am I not healed? Does that make sense now? We have to have some knowing that it took us a long time of us living one way, and just know that it's a pursuit of us doing better now, just being better, and it's going to add up and we're going to be fine, but we have to start pursuing this and stop. Again, you can't detox your way out of a bad lifestyle. Same concept. The other part is this. Who's heard of the 80-20 rule we always say, right, with food? Right? 80-20 rule. Here's the thing. And I'm not talking to you guys because I know that you guys are very clean and healthy people, so I'm not talking to you. But I would say this. When I say this, I would say that the 80 is what you do mostly. The 20 is your cheats, right? The way I argue this is that my 20% is not the same as most people's 20%. Does that make sense? My cheat meal is like a grass-fed organic cup of ice cream from Sprouts. It's not Dairy Queen. It's very different there. So when you're having your cheat meal, your cheat still needs to be God created and whole, but I might indulge in a little naughty night of some more sugar than I usually do, but it's going to be the healthier form that I can find. Does that make sense? So this 80-20 bioaccumulation, if we're having our cheat meals, but we're cheating with 19 ingredient French fries, that's where we see another big issue that happens. So we have to make sure that we're honing that in there. Perfect. Okay. With toxic bioaccumulation, the other thing I'm going to finish off with this one concept is a lot of times we blame our genes and we say that, well, listen, my mom, she had, heart disease, so I had to have it. My dad was fat, so I'm going to be fat. We say these things and it's easy to say it. And I'm going to come out and say it's a cop-out answer. Here's what I'm going to say. What the studies show is that only 5% of all conditions are true genetic conditions. 95% is lifestyle induced. And here's where the glory and the empowerment of this is that means that 95% of health conditions can be reversed, because if you lived your way into the condition, you can live your way out of it. That's where the empowerment comes in. So we have to just be consistently making better choices this way. So when I see that, it ultimately comes down to me taking responsibility and saying, every man in my lineage at home has heart disease. That's a true fact, by the way. I don't accept that. I'm going to say that I'm going to live a very different lifestyle than everybody else did, and that's not going to be me. It's not going to be my son, because the line breaks with us, right? We say, nope, we're going to walk this direction and things are going to be very different. but you have to make that decision. No one can make that decision but you guys. And that's where you say, like, I'm not going to fall into that trap. Good? Okay. Here you go. You can't detox if you keep retoxing. I'm going to say it all over again, all the time. So you can't keep walking that route. There should be like a middle route with like a steak or something, but it's okay. Here you go. So now we're going to take a supplement intermission. When we look at this, here's where, if you're somebody who is asking yourself, well, shoot, I've done the 20 years of the, toxifying my body, so to speak, and I want to start that detox process. Here's why I love the detox system that we have. There's a lot of detoxes out there that you can do. This is one of the few ones that it's a cellular detox. A lot of times when you get toxic, toxins will stick and live in your cells. This is a cellular detox, meaning it'll come out of your cells and then come out of your body. Okay, so it's 2 parts. And that's why I like this one. Cell repair is a gentle detox. I've been doing cell repair now every day now for the past couple months, testing this out. So it's a gentler detox that you can do. So if you want a very like firm detox, I would start with this one. It's 1 month and it is gonna pull a lot of gunk out. This is a more gentle one that'll slowly pull things out. Cool? I'm also gonna talk about protein. And the reason why I talk about our protein powder is because a big source of toxicity is our meats. A very big source of toxicity is where we're getting our protein. So if you're getting toxic sources or conventional sources of meat, or you're getting bad protein powders. I grew up on bad protein powders, and I always wondered why I've always was gassy and bloaty and all these things, because I had terrible protein powders with artificial sweeteners and colors and additives, right? And all the preservatives. This is why I say, like, if you don't have a protein powder or if you're using a bad one, you need to switch to a better one. And this is a regenerative farmed protein powder that has no artificial garbage at all in it. It's the cleanest one that I found. Me and my family use this. My kids use it. Like, this is the one you want to get, trust me. Air. Okay. Am I going too fast? You guys good? Everyone catching up? Okay. I'm going to go faster. Oh, they said go faster. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So when it comes to air, finish this phrase for me. I just need to get outside and get some fresh air. Here's why we say that. The reason why we say that is the EPA, the Environmental Pollutant Agency, finds that inside is typically 2 to 5 times more toxic than outside. Where do we spend most of our days? Inside. Very rarely are we outside. So the problem is that we're spending all our time in toxic environments. Now you got to look at, well, what's happening in my environment? And like I was saying earlier, are we having a bunch of air fresheners that are all over the place, toxifying us? Are we having candles that, again, we're lighting candles that are putting a bunch of petroleum, which are carcinogenic factors, out in there? I asked her if I should share this story, and she said yes. So when I was in college, I was a terrible kid who had no idea what I was doing with like cleaning. And I know somebody else here is going to relate to this. So that I didn't have to wash my sheets as often, I would take Febreze and just spray it down with Febreze. Anybody else? Okay, you're a lot of liars. Here's the couches. My dad was like, we're not going to pay money to like wash these couches or get them cleaned. Bottle of Febreze, baby. And we would Febreze that thing up. And it got marketed. We used that for everything. And this is the sad, my like gym bag for football, Febreze. And when we start looking at this though, like again, but this is, you guys are the good people. Out there, that's what they're doing. This is what we do because we're marketing it, and that's what happened. This is why the inside air is so much more toxic. That's what we're breathing. So, that being said, what's your solution? Do I have it on here or no? Yeah. So your solution, first thing I would say is open the windows. If you can open windows and get fresh air in, open your windows, right? Get some fresh air flowing right now. Second, we put a snake plant in almost every room of the house because snake plants are a detoxifier. So a snake plant specifically will actually clean the air. So snake plant, super easy, also very hard to kill, good for my family. My wife she can't hear. She kills everything. So snake plants are like perfect for us. Molecule is the air purifier that we use. It's one of the best ones that I've seen, and it's why I have a big one in my living room and a little one in the kids' bedrooms and my bedroom. And it's something that we, again, how do we catch all the stuff we can't control? That's where that comes in. If you're going to be diffusing something, like diffuse essential oils instead of burning bad candles, there are good forms of candles, by the way, that you can get that aren't toxic. But I'm saying, like, use air fresheners that are going to be healthier for the body. Water. Here's why we don't drink tap water. I found this. This is all of the things that are actually in tap water. There's arsenic, there's nitrates, literally hormones, fluoride, aluminum, pharmaceutical drugs. You know why I know how that gets in there? When people get excited that they don't have to take their medicine anymore, what do you think they do? Flush it down the toilet, and it gets into your water supply. Then we start looking at, again, the lead I talked about earlier, calcium. There's so many chemicals in our water supply, but I'm gonna say, like, yes, we know not to drink it, but I'm gonna challenge you a step further. This is what you're washing your clothes in. This is what you're bathing your children in. This is what you're washing your dishes in. Like, anybody ever notice when you like wash the dishes and then you go to open the dishwasher, it's like you got hit in the face with chlorine? Do you guys notice that? This is what's happening. It's like being pumped into everywhere. So when I say change the water supply, everywhere that you have the ability to change the water needs to get changed. So your solution, if you don't, so I'm gonna say this, I took this picture from my garage, by the way. This is actually in my house. So we have a 2 whole house water filtration system, meaning that any faucet in my home where the water comes out, anything that it is purified drinking water anywhere. The shower, the washing the laundry, all of it. It is very safe. So I'm like, I know it's good. Now, if that's not an option for you, make sure you have a filter on your shower. Make sure there's a filter on your faucets. Like, make sure you're just filtering the water that you can, so that way we're not absorbing this in. Because again, especially the shower, guys, you're in a hot shower and your pores are open, and it's just getting in. So we got to be mindful of that stuff. The reason why I put the mineral drops up there is because when we are having like an RO system and we're pulling everything out of the water, it's not actually healthy because now you don't have any minerals in the water. So it's not hydrating. If we're drinking lots of water and it's just cleansed water, it's not hydrating. So you want to put electrolytes back in, or we have this too. So it's literally get it at Sprouts. You just put a couple of drops and you're remineralizing your water. So now your water has good healthy minerals again. Or we use electrolytes, especially in the summertime that's coming up. Definitely want to get electrolytes. The Element in the back is what we recommend. It is clean and good. Okay, your turn.
Okay. Do you want to just click
You want me
it
to
for
click you? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll click you.
I don't trust myself.
I got it.
Okay. All right. I get to talk to you guys about chemicals in the home. And the bad news is that our homes, start off with the bad news. Our homes can be very toxic. Like Dr. Mike said, the inside of our homes can be 2 to 5 times more toxic than the outside. But the good news is that these are the things that we can control. We can make swaps to make our homes a kind of a safe place from all the toxins coming out out in the world. So the 3 most toxic rooms in your house here, the reason these are the most toxic is because the products we use in them have chemicals called endocrine disruptors. So endocrine disruptors are chemical compounds that interfere with our hormone function, and hormones are needed for every function of the body. What happens is these chemicals, they mimic our natural hormones, and so our bodies get confused. They get the wrong message, they'll respond at the wrong time, the body will over-respond or not respond. And the reason this is bad is because this leads to developmental malformations, interference with reproduction, increased cancer risk, and disturbances in the immune and nervous system function. So how many of you guys, you don't have to raise your hand, but you or someone you know, mostly females, struggle with hormone imbalances? And now we're also starting to see it with males, right, having low testosterone. And this, I think, is a huge reason why. So there are 800 known endocrine disruptors. I'm not going to make you guys memorize all of them. The good news is the Environmental Working Group has an app. So it's just called the EWG app. You can download it. you can scan your products or you can search a product and it will tell you, it'll give you a grade on a scale from like super toxic to clean. So you can just look and it's all in there. It's super easy. Okay, but I do want to talk about...
Too much? I'm sorry.
No, too
Sorry,
fast.
sorry.
Um,
I'm trigger happy.
rushing me. 6 of the most common endocrine disruptors for you guys to be aware of. Has anyone heard of BPA? So BPA is really commonly found in plastics. A lot of times on plastic bottles, you'll see like BPA free. So the problem with BPA is that it's a known carcinogen. It's a cancer-causing agent, especially breast cancer. It's also associated with reproductive and fertility issues, obesity, and early puberty in kids. So mostly it is found in plastics. It can also be found in like the lining of cans, canned foods. So you want to avoid that. With the EWG app though, you can look, like Dr. Mike said, a lot of our food packaging is toxic. You can look it up in the app and it'll tell you if your packaging is toxic or not. But one big thing here is to never microwave your food in plastic or in cans, because what happens is when we heat the containers, all of those chemicals just go straight into your food and then you eat them. And that is not good.
Shouldn't microwave it, period.
Well, yeah.
Throw the microwave away.
Yeah, also that. And then another one for BPA that I think a lot of people don't know about is receipts that you get in the store. That paper has a lining on it that contains BPA. And there was actually a study done where cashiers who touch receipts a lot had higher levels of BPA in their blood. So avoiding touching receipts can really make a difference. If you have to touch them, wash your hands.
Is it from the ink? Or?
It's like a lining on the paper. Something about the receipt paper, yeah. Okay, next is phthalates. So Dr. Mike touched on phthalates. Phthalates are chemicals that are added to plastics to make them flexible and malleable. So anything that's like a thin plastic would have phthalates in it. Think like your plastic wrap or plastic baggies. Also the lids on coffee cups that we get at coffee shops. And if you think about it, I never realized this, but if you're drinking a hot coffee through that lid, it's like the same concept of warming up your plastic container. It's just filtering the hot plastic right into your mouth. Also fragrances. So phthalates are added to fragrances as a fragrance fixative. Have you ever noticed, like, if you put a perfume on your clothes or if you like hug someone that had a strong cologne, it sticks to your clothes. Like at the end of the day, you can still smell it. That's a dead giveaway that that scent is toxic. So phthalates can cause childhood obesity, asthma, cardiovascular issues, reproductive issues, and low sperm count and testosterone levels in adult males. Now the problem here is that phthalates are usually not listed on the ingredient label. They can be listed under just fragrance. The International Fragrance Association allows, I think it's like 4,000 chemicals can be labeled under just fragrance. So when you see that on the ingredient label, we have no idea what that actually means. So that's why you'll hear us talk a lot about just avoiding fragrances and going for fragrance-free options or using like essential oils as a scent. Also in toys, phthalates are added to kids' toys a lot. And kids, what do they do with toys? They put them, in their mouth. So wood toys would be a better option there. Cool. Okay, next we're going to talk about the PFAS chemicals that Dr. Mike also mentioned, the forever chemicals. This is a family of more than 4,700 chemical compounds fall under this group. So yeah, he already talked about it's really hard to detox it out of your body. These are the chemicals that make products non-stick or grease resistant. So think like your Teflon pans or any non-stick products. And waterproof as well. The problem with PFAS chemicals is they can cause cancer, thyroid disease, weakened immunity, developmental defects, and again, low testosterone and sperm count in males. I think you talked about this. It's found in water. Yeah, so biggest one is tap water. And then also like stain repellent treatments that you can get on your carpet and furniture a lot of times contain these. And then fast food packaging. So you all already know how we feel about fast food around here. We do not eat it, but the packaging itself is super toxic. It's lined with these chemicals. So there's no reason anyone should leave here and eat fast food ever again after this, okay?
That's right. I'm watching all of you.
Popcorn bags too. How many of you like microwavable popcorn? I know. So they are lined with these chemicals, and again, how do we cook it? In the microwave, right? So you guys there's a theme here, plastics and heating things in the microwave. So a good option though is you can cook popcorn on your stovetop, and you can actually get like good popcorn kernels too, so that the popcorn itself isn't bad for you too. And then your pots and pans. We'll hit on this more in the kitchen, but swapping out for a non-toxic option there. And then, coffee cups too. So the coffee lids are bad, but also your coffee cups that you get hot coffee in are lined with PFAS chemicals. So you can bring your own to-go cup usually, and they'll put coffee in there for you. That's a good option.
I usually bring my own like Yeti cup if I'm gonna do it seriously. I bring my own Yeti cup, and they just fill it. So you can do that, and it's not weird.
Who cares if it's weird? It's for your health.
Safe.
All right. Okay, we're halfway through. This is like the most like sciencey, like chemical, boring stuff, I promise. Next is atrazine. So atrazine is a pesticide, mostly used in corn products, but now it has found its way into our drinking water. And there have been studies that the EPA has reviewed and chosen to ignore and continue allowing this in our water. These studies link atrazine to childhood leukemia, Parkinson's disease, breast tumors, delayed puberty, prostate inflammation, and cancer. There was also a study done, this is like the craziest study I've ever read.
Yeah.
So they took 40 male frogs and they put them in a container of water, and the level of atrazine in this water was below what they consider acceptable for human consumption. And what happened to these frogs was that 30 of them were chemically castrated, and four turned into females and produced fertile eggs. Yeah. So there haven't been studies done yet.
Now you
what
see what's
this
wrong
does
with
to
our
our
country.
kids.
It's atrazine. Just kidding. Sorry. I'm sorry.
The rabbit
Okay,
hole.
hide me in the corner.
But yeah, there's no studies what this does to our kids. This is what it does to frogs, though.
Yeah.
So that's the scary thing. So again, why we do not drink tap water, and also this is a good reason to buy organic produce because this is a pesticide. Okay, your flame retardants. So these are found in your mattresses, your furniture, and also baby car seats a lot. The problem with these two is the chemicals will migrate off of the furniture and get into the air in our homes, so then we're breathing it in, it gets into our dust. These are linked to hormone disruption, cancer, IQ deficits in kids, and attention deficit disorder in kids. So what you can do is you can check your furniture labels. It'll usually say what has been sprayed on the furniture. If you can't find that, you can also reach out to the manufacturer. They should know what's on their furniture. I realize with this one, it's like you can't replace all of the furniture in your house immediately. Maybe you can, and that's great for you. But if you're gonna start with one, start with your mattress, because you should hopefully be spending about 8 hours a day on your mattress. So that would be a good place to start. BioPosture is a really good brand, and they can get you guys a really good discount through the office on that. So, and then for baby car seats, Nuna is a good brand if you want to write that down. Okay, last, perchlorate. So perchlorate is a component of rocket fuel that is now in our tap water and soil. So the problem with perchlorate is that it interferes with your thyroid by competing for iodine. Iodine is needed for us to make thyroid hormones, which we know regulates metabolism in adults, but it's also important for brain and organ development in babies and kids. So again, another reason to not drink tap water, but also get more iodine in your diet through like animal proteins. You guys might have also heard us talk about regenerative farms. So regenerative farms basically are committed to restoring the quality of our soil. And so buying from there, they try to, like, I guess, get rid of the toxins in the soil. Our protein powder comes from a regenerative farm, so that's really cool. All right, that's all the chemical stuff.
Woo.
Now on to, okay, we made it. All right, so the kitchen. This is my favorite room because I love eating. I don't know about you guys. So for our cleaners, I'm gonna go really quickly through these. In the handout that you guys got, there are alternatives for everything listed here, so I'm not gonna list all of them. But one thing I wanna point out for cleaners is bleach. Are any of you guys like weird about, like, if you have raw meat, you feel like you need to like bleach your kitchen and like clean everything? Maybe not. Okay, maybe just me. So Force of Nature has a good bleach replacement. And it uses hypochlorous acid. So hypochlorous acid is what your white blood cells produce to fight infection in the body. So it actually has a higher antimicrobial power than bleach, and it's not toxic. So that's a really, really cool. Your containers, we've already talked about switching out plastic for glass containers. Your pots and pans, this is where we find those PFAS chemicals. So what we use are these, they're ceramic. It's Caraway is the brand. And they're also non-stick, but it's not toxic. So we love them. They're super easy to clean. I have burned the heck out of some things on these pans, and they just clean right up. So it's wonderful. Your cooking utensils too. If you've ever noticed that your spatula is like starting to melt on the end, that's bad. So, you know, if you're cooking with plastic utensils in your nice ceramic pans, that doesn't quite balance out too well. So wood or stainless steel are good options to switch out for plastic utensils. We've already touched on food. Your coffee maker. So the reason the coffee maker can be toxic is because it's made of plastic. So you're boiling water in plastic. It's kind of going up through whatever plastic contraption and straight into your coffee pot. Nice hot cup of plastic coffee. It's nasty. So what we use is a glass pour over like that. It just goes straight into the glass container. It tastes so much better too.
Real quick too, on Amazon, you can get this guy, and then we have a stainless steel filter. So we have 2 stainless steel filters that we never have to buy filters. We just wash it and reuse them. And it's your zero contamination of chemicals if you're doing it this way.
We don't do that yet, but we'll get there. We're getting there.
Sorry.
And then the type of coffee that you use too is important. So the coffee plant itself is highly sprayed with pesticides, so getting organic coffee beans, and then also the whole like drying process of the beans makes them super susceptible to mold. So those big like mass production companies, we won't name names, but a lot of times their coffee will have a high mold content. So you want to look for more of like a specialty coffee company that cares more about the quality. Purity is a good brand, Life Boost is a good brand, and Death Wish is also good, which you can get at Costco.
That's sort of funny. Death Wish?
I know, but it's so good.
Sounds bad.
Sounds bad, but it's good. Okay, on to the bathroom. We could spend so much time here, but I'm going to try to make it quick. So one thing really quick with cleaners I just wanted to mention. So when I was doing my research for this talk, I looked up different like popular brands of cleaners because I was just curious where they'd kind of fall. So I looked up Scrubbing Bubbles. If anyone's ever used Scrubbing Bubbles, maybe don't raise your hand. Scrubbing Bubbles got a D in the app. But they also have a Scrubbing Bubbles Nature's Source. So I was like, oh, like curious, maybe, you know, you look at that and you think, oh, maybe it's like a little better. That one got an F.
Oh.
So, yeah, because of causing developmental and reproductive issues. So I know, you can't trust the marketing. Yeah, so this is why you have to do your research with the individual products themselves. For cosmetics, so cosmetics are a big one because these are leave-on products. We put these on and then we leave them on all day, which makes it more highly absorbable into the skin. It's estimated that women apply 168 chemicals to their bodies before leaving the house in the morning. So this is your skincare, your hair care, your makeup. Makeup contains chemicals a lot of times like formaldehyde, carcinogens, the fragrances, which we know are phthalates, and lead and other heavy metals. So Beautycounter is a really good brand. Crunchy is also a good brand. But I will say with makeup, you can kind of scan the individual products. Like Anne told me about I think it was CoverGirl mascara that she found that was actually clean. So I would never put like a CoverGirl foundation on my face, but you can kind of piece together and choose where you want to spend more money there. Okay, that's good for makeup. A couple of ingredients I just want to point out that are in a lot of these. The first one is propylene glycol. Propylene glycol is a byproduct of antifreeze, which we put in our cars. We should never be putting that on our bodies. Super, super toxic. And then another one is retinol palmitate. So this is an ingredient that's found in a lot of skincare like serums. A lot of anti-aging products have this, as well as it was shave creams, after sun products, and baby lotions and baby oils too. So the problem with this one is that the FDA did a study that found that when retinol palmitate is exposed to sunlight, it might speed the development of skin tumors and skin lesions. So I'm just going to throw this out there. The sun has been around since the beginning of time. God made the sun. The sun is life-giving. All forms of life need the sun to survive. We need it to produce like vitamin D in the body. Why would God create something that's toxic? We hear a lot about like the sun is so bad for you, it causes cancer, you have to be careful. And I just want to propose this idea that maybe, do you think it could be the synthetic products that we just started using in the last 50 or so years, being exposed to the sun, activating these chemicals, causing our issues? And that is a whole rabbit hole we could get down, so we'll just leave that there for now. But yeah, so retinol palmitate. And then I'm gonna skip down to the deodorants. How many of you know that you should use aluminum-free deodorant? Okay, so the reason is because aluminum is a known carcinogen. It's been found that when you use aluminum-containing deodorant before the age of 30, the risk of getting breast cancer is increased by 4 times. I don't know how you would say it, 4 times, quadrupled. So another reason though that aluminum is bad is it blocks our sweat detox pathway. So our sweat, like the reason we sweat through our armpits is because it's the body's way of detoxing. So when we use like antiperspirants and aluminum containing deodorants, it blocks that pathway. So then there's a buildup of toxins and bacteria. And that is why if you've ever tried to like use a natural deodorant and you're like, oh my gosh, I smell, it must not work. It's because your body is finally able to detox out those toxins. So just be patient, let the process happen. You can also do like an armpit detox to help pull out the aluminum salts. With natural deodorants though, I will say 2 things to watch out for. An ingredient that's really common in more like natural deodorants, I'll say, is ozokerite wax, which is a petroleum byproduct, which is a carcinogen. So watch out for that. And also watch out for baking soda in deodorants if you have sensitive skin. There's nothing wrong with baking soda, but if you have sensitive skin, it will destroy you. So just be careful there.
You get a really big rash.
We can speak from experience with that, yeah. Toothpaste. You didn't talk too much about fluoride. So fluoride is a neurotoxin, so we want to avoid that. You should be, hopefully you're using toothpaste at least 2 times a day, maybe 3 times a day. And it's already in our water. We're already being exposed to fluoride. There's just no need to continue exposing ourselves to it over and over and over throughout our whole lives. Did you have anything for that to add?
It's just funny, like you see like when my kids brush their teeth, when the moment it goes in their mouth, what do? Just suck and swallow it all down.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, that's great. So you don't want to be like, it says don't swallow on the thing if it's like the toxic stuff. It says don't swallow. If you ever read the toothpaste bottles, you're like, I wonder why. So we should be mindful of the stuff that we're, again, putting on us and our children.
Feminine products. I want to talk about this really quick because no one wants to talk about these products for some reason.
We will.
We'll talk about them. Because I think that's terrible. None of us are told when we're young, like, oh, hey, these might contain plastics. These might contain heavy metals. These might contain endocrine disrupting chemicals. And the problem is when you put these products in an area that's super absorptive, there's no detox pathway protecting your reproductive organs from these chemicals. When we eat toxins, we have like our liver and different pathways to protect us. There's nothing protecting our reproductive organs here, so this is why it's important. Tampon users have been found to have high levels of mercury and oxidative stress. They can contain fragrances, so phthalates, PFAS chemicals, plastics, bleach, and then cotton. A lot of these products are made with cotton. Well, cotton plants are sprayed with glyphosate, which is a very toxic pesticide. So the number one thing you want to do here is make sure you're buying products that are made with organic cotton. And then you also want to look at the ingredient label. There should not be like 50 chemicals in a tampon. That should be like cotton. That should really be it. And then another option some people use is like a cup. But with cups, you want to make sure they are medical grade or platinum cured silicone because silicone can still be toxic itself. So you have to be careful about that. Okay, and then real quick, toilet paper. I never would have thought of my toilet paper as being something I need to be concerned about. But toilet paper can contain PFAS chemicals, which is that forever chemical. We want to get unbleached bamboo toilet paper that has been tested for PFAS. So Amazon Aware is a good brand for that. And I do want to point out really quick, if you guys have ever seen recycled toilet paper, it might seem like that's a better option. That's actually the worst option because oftentimes receipts are thrown in the recycling. And we already talked about how bad receipts are. So recycled toilet paper is actually worse to use.
But it still doesn't prevent COVID.
So true.
Go buy a bidet. That'll help you.
Yeah. Okay. Last, laundry room. So the main thing in the laundry room is your detergent. A couple ingredients you want to be aware of here. Obviously, you don't want to have toxic fragrances in your laundry detergent, but also there's a chemical called 1,4-dioxane. This one is tricky because it's actually a byproduct of a chemical reaction that happens during the washing process. It's extremely carcinogenic and a neurotoxin. So increased risk of benign and malignant tumors is what this causes. So because it's a byproduct, it's not listed as an ingredient, so you have to look for the precursors. So the precursors are things ending in F. So laureth-6, sodium lauryl sulfate, which is usually SLS, and this is actually found in a lot of soaps too, and then steareth. And then another one to look out for would be NPEs, nonylphenol hexaphthalates. These are actually banned in Canada and Europe, and they are known for endocrine disruption. They interfere with fetal development and organ function and growth in children. And then a couple more of these here. We have good options for stain removers if you have messy kids, bleach, and then for dryer sheets, we use these wool balls to help with the static, and you can even add like drops of essential oils onto them if you want a little bit of a scent without the toxins. So, I know this is a lot. If you guys have questions about different swaps or anything that we didn't totally hit on here, obviously let us know. That toxic swap sheet should have a lot more information for you too, though.
I'm impressed that you said all those words so good.
I worked really
was
hard
really
on
good.
my pronunciation. I practiced.
That was very good. All right, we're almost there, guys. EMFs. So this is a big one. This is huge. Like, how many of you guys have heard, like, you've seen, like, hey, watch out for the 5G towers? Probably heard that before. So here's the thing: 5G towers are popping up. If you are exposed to 5G, what they found is that you can get headaches, sleep disturbances, heart arrhythmias, cancer, dizziness, fatigue, anxiety, memory loss, mood changes, all from being exposed to 5G because it's more convenient for us. When it comes to EMFs, this is like anything pumping out Wi-Fi, electromagnetic frequencies, anything pumping out like that. Here's what we say. Like, to make this simple, when you look at this, in our house, anything that is pumping off like an electric signal, for us, we did like, obviously, like my iPad, my phone, even like the baby monitors. We have EMF protections on the baby monitors. Anything like that, we have protection on it. So when you're looking at it, EMF Harmony, this is the brand that I feel is the best tested, and we've even tested it in the office. You guys have probably never noticed it, but even my Apple Watch I wear, there's a little circle here, and this is a EMF blocker to help me from the watch. So you got to think about, like, wherever you can, you want to minimize exposure to EMF, and here's why. So the National Toxicity Program looked at this. Long-term radiation exposure from cell phones. There's clear evidence of tumors in hearts. The toxicity program also looked at long-term exposure and found that there was damage to the DNA in the prefrontal cortex of males. So this is like your decision-making, literally like how you decide your executive function, right? Stuff like that. And then the last one was that it also found that long-term effects can possibly be carcinogenic. So when you're looking at EMF exposure, we want to be very mindful. And this is one thing that drives me nuts. You look at most guys, right? I'm talking to men for a second. When you grab your phone and you go to sit down, where do we put our phone? Right in the crotch. Every time. Every time. I go to my men's Bible study, every dude is sitting down with a phone right here. And we're just hanging out. I'm like, why? Women, where do you put your phones? Right in the bra. All the time. And you think like we're just like nuking our reproductive organs. And have you ever noticed that your phone, how it gets really hot? That your phone is pumping off radiation. We did this fun test with our cell phones. We have the EMF blocker on it, and the heat on the phone significantly is less because it's blocking, it's helping to minimize a lot of that. So these are the ones we like. I put this up here. So if you have AirPods and you like AirPods, there's a company called WaveBlock. That's what I put on mine. And it's a little thing you just wrap around the little bottom, and it helps block the EMF exposure off of the AirPods. So WaveBlock's a good one for that. Who hates this?
Oh my gosh.
Is this anybody else's pet peeve, by the way? Okay, here's why I put this up. This is my section called Digital Detox. When you go to the restaurant and you see this is my number one pet peeve of anything else. And when you look at this, I think our phones and technology was created with a good purpose, but it was created for connection, but what it's created is disconnection. And when you really look at what's happening, like everybody, we're stuck on these things all the time. And not only is it just annoying because you're like not listening. I know parents, when you have kids on their phones, like it probably drives you guys nuts too. But this is what you think. The average American spends 11 to 13 hours a day on technology. 11 to 13. If you really look at that number, we're only awake for typically 16 hours. So the majority of our day is on a device of some kind. What they're finding is that when someone is spending a lot of time on devices, whether it be from what we're doing on them, the blue light, all different things, what they're finding is that when you're on devices for this long, it increases anxiety and depression, creates poor posture, which I hate, obviously, affects your sleep, behavioral dysregulation. Have you ever tried to give a kid an iPad and take it away? You've seen the meltdown? Behavioral dysregulation. They don't know how to regulate behavior. And this happens when you go turn a show off for the kids. What do? They freak out, right? It's very different than if you were to take away like a Lego. They don't freak out the same, and it's because of what the technology is doing to their brains. And I don't have time to go into all those details, but there's something different there. And then emotional intelligence goes down. Kids nowadays, because we just text emojis all the time, we don't know how to read people's emotions. We don't know how to respond to people. We don't look them in the eye anymore. We don't know how to understand if someone's going through something, how do I understand your emotion and respond appropriately? Because everything is done via a texting and on phones. Does that make sense? That's a big problem. So as we start to go, this has to change. How do we change it? Look at this. Hey, like the olden days. Like dinner time specifically should be a time of like sitting down and sharing, and like everything I know about my culture and my heritage, my family comes from sharing old stories at the dinner table. Like we need more of this stuff, right? Move forward. Toxic people. Look at this. Okay, here we go. If you know someone like this, don't point at them. But oh, sorry, real quick before I forget. When it comes to the phones, here's my advice: set rules, set boundaries on the phones. And here's what I mean by that. When I get home, the rule is that once I'm home and I've been doing this all day with everybody else, and I'm home with my wife and my kids, I switch to now I am now husband and father. So the people that are important to me are in front of me. So my phone goes in my bathroom. It's very rare that you'll get a hold of me once I get home. The phone goes in the bathroom. And when you look at, obviously it shouldn't be at the dinner table. We look at our kids, we restrict movies and TV time to the weekends, and we do like family movie nights on the weekends, but during the week, they're either outside or they're playing or they're doing something else. Like we limit that quite a bit. And again, just be very intentional with how we're utilizing it, and it makes a very big difference. On my phone, I even put you can set it to do not disturb, and you can set the time frame. So for me, from 9 p.m. to 6:30 a.m., like nothing gets through on my phone. So I just intentionally, that's protecting my morning routine. My morning time with God, no email is going to block that. So like that goes away. Okay, then talks to people. See, here's why I put this on here. Some of you guys have people in your life, family or friends, who as you're trying to make healthier choices and healthier decisions, they're holding you back. They're people who are making you feel bad. They're not on board. And these are toxic people in your life that you may need to make some disconnections. There's things that you might notice where you're trying to see a positive change and they're always pulling you towards old habits. There's a problem there. And it's very difficult for you to make positive changes in your life, whatever that may be that you're working towards, when you have this. There's a saying that said that if you hang around 5 people that smoke, you're probably going to be the 6th. And use that concept for whatever else, right? So if you want to get better with working out, hang around people that work out. If you want to get better with, eating healthier food, hang out with people that eat healthier food. If you want to get better with your spiritual walk, find more people that are doing that. Does that make sense? Like you want to protect your circle. One of the best things someone told me one time was be very, very intentional with who you let speak into your life. And that's why this is important. Sometimes we're letting people influence us and speak into us who have no purpose doing so, but we let it happen, and then now it changes and it messes up our perception of how we're acting and what we're doing for us and our family. You guys with me on that one? Be very, very protective of who you let speak into your life. Be intentional about that, okay? How do you do that? You guard your mind, which, like I said, protect it. Be very, very specific of how you let that happen. All right, last thing, and we're out of here. Here's how I connect. I'm going to connect chiropractic and why you guys are actually in here to detoxing, because it connects. Your health is dictated by 100% of your body's ability to function, meaning we talk about detox pathways. Here's what you got to understand. All of the detox pathways, your liver, your kidney, all these things, those are controlled by what? The nervous system. Literally, the nervous system regulates and controls those pathways. So if you have a disrupted or an unbalanced or a dysregulated nervous system, how well are you going to detox? Not as well. By getting adjusted. One of the things people notice is that when they're getting adjusted, if you have little babies and you've got them adjusted, notice how they quickly will go to the bathroom. They will quickly get things out. When you get adjusted, how many of you guys have gotten adjusted and you just instantly started sweating more? Your body is detoxing. These are all detox pathways. Your adjustments will help you detox better. So when you're in alignment, when your nervous system is in alignment, this is a big piece that helps our bodies filter and process these chemicals out. If you are subluxated, or what happened here? Yeah, if you're subluxated, where your spine is out of alignment, putting pressure on the nervous system, blocking that, that is a dysregulation to your body's detox pathway. So just by you guys being here, getting adjusted every week, that is helping your body in this detox process. Right there. Amen? Good? Okay, last thing I'm going to hit on. The next event, we're having a little bit of a gap because I'm surprised I even made it here tonight because I have a kid coming in like any moment. So we have the next seminar is going to be Monday, May 6th, and it'll be Nutrition 101. We're going to throw in a nutrition seminar. We haven't done it in a long time, so it's time to bring it back. So we're going to be doing Nutrition 101, the path to nourishment, going through God-made food versus man-made food, and we're going to walk through a lot more details on the food and how food affects your body. Amen?
Amen.
Okay, at this point, was there any questions that came in, anybody? How about this? I'm going to do this. I'm going to wrap up this part, and then anybody who needs to go or would like to leave, we're going to end this part. Anybody who wants to stay for a quick Q&A with us, we're going to be happy to hang out and answer anything that we didn't cover that you want to cover. So I apologize, we went a little bit over. All good?
All good.
Okay, God bless all of you, and then we will hang out for anybody else who wants something quick. All right.